Hello again. I am starting the lecture number 12 in unit number 2, operating system. So in continuation with the preceding lecture, I will continue on the semaphores. Okay, because it is necessary that you must be clear about what is the semaphore. So it is synchronization tool or method. Okay, so how we will define the semaphore? Then we can say that it is a synchronization tool, or we can say the method. Okay, and it has an integer value. Either we can select 0 or 1 or some negative integer value. So the semaphores can be defined as it may contain the integer value. Okay, this way variable is used to solve problems of critical sections. Actually, there are number of critical problems arise in the critical section. Okay, so what is the critical section? We have already discussed the matter. In critical section, only one process will execute there at a time. Okay, at one time, and how the operating system initiate to resolve the problem in the critical section, then as a result it will use the semaphores. Okay, so the semaphore, with the help of this, we can execute, or the operating system will choose only one process at one time. Okay, so this acts as a variable and it has integer value, and this is called as the synchronization tool or method. Now, semaphores are integer variables that are used to solve the critical section problem by using two atomic operations. Okay, what are those two atomic operations? One is called the wait and another is called the signal, that are used for process synchronization. Okay, there are number of process uh, that will be occupied by the central processing unit, or we can say other resources. Then how the synchronization will take place, then for that, to resolve that problem, we will use the semaphores. Okay, so there are two operations, one is called the wait and another is called the signal. So what is the wait and what is the signal? The wait operation decrements the value of its arguments s. Okay, this just we are going to indicate by s, and under the wait condition, okay, the value of the semaphore will be decreased by 1. Okay, if s is negative or 0, so it may have the value negative or 0, then no operation is performed. Okay, if s is negative or 0, then no operation is performed. So under the wait condition, you can see here how the operating system will deal under the wait condition. So the wait operation decrements the value of the argument. Just remember please this. So there are the two conditions here, you can see. Now the signal operation here, the signal operation increments the value of its argument s. Okay, where what is s? S, just we are using the indicator for the semaphore. So for the signal operation, it is indicating that there is a increment in the value of the argument. Okay, and if our process is under wait condition, then another operation which is resolved by the semaphore, or for which we are using the semaphore operation, then in this case it decreases the value of the argument by 1. Okay, so this is the difference between the wait and the signal operation, and these two operations will be handled by the semaphore. But this happens only in the critical section, when the process is inside the critical section. Now, what is the counting semaphores? So again, we can say, because these acts as a integer, these have the integer variable. Now the counting semaphores is these are integer value semaphores and have an unrestricted value domain. Okay, these semaphores are used to coordinate the resource access. So this provides the coordination between the resources. There are number of resources which we will use, and what are the different resources? We are already aware, that is the CPU, another is the memory, okay, IO devices. So we can use, because we allocate such resources to the process, or any process will enter, either will occupy the area either in the CPU or IO devices that will be held by the process, the IO device, okay, or either it will reside in the memory. So these are called the different resources, and these semaphores are used to coordinate the resource access, where the semaphore count is the number of available resources, how many resources are available. So if the resources are added, semaphore count automatically incremented. Okay, so semaphore count automatically incremented means increment by 1 at each cycle. And if the resources are removed, the count is decremented. Suppose there are number of resources, and sometime or at any instant, uh, suppose the resource or we can say the resources are removed, okay, or if there is a reduction in the resources on the same instant, then the count is decremented. So this is the main application of the semaphores. Another number is the binary semaphore. This is we call the counting semaphores, and another is the binary semaphores. The binary semaphores are like counting semaphores, but their value is restricted to 0 and 1. The wait operation only works when the semaphore is 1. Okay, when the integer value is 1, it means the wait operation will work. Okay, and the signal operation succeeds when semaphore is 0. So there are two operations we have discussed already, wait and signal. So wait operation, under this operation the semaphore is 1, and under the signal operation the semaphore is 0. So remember these values, integer values here. It is sometimes easier to implement binary semaphore than counting semaphores. So if we will compare, then to implement the binary semaphores is easier than the counting semaphores. Okay. Now here semaphores, again creating and assessing semaphore sets. Semaphores are allocated in sets. Okay, so there are number of sets during running condition of the process. So semaphores are allocated in sets. Okay, they are allocated with a value of 0. Value of 0 means blocked state. Okay, so they are allocated with a value of 0. So semaphore operation, there are only two operations. So first is called the wait and signal. Okay, wait just we are indicating by T and signal by V. So there are two operations. First is called the wait and another is called the signal operation. Okay, so semaphores handle the critical conditions inside the critical section. Okay, if there are several processes in the critical section, then with the help of the semaphore will resolve the problem. It will execute only one process at one time. Okay, so semaphore control, we can see here get info on a set. So semaphore have the information about the set and set all semaphore values in a set or get all values. So set all semaphore values. So all values means 0 and 1 in a set, or get all values whatever we have. Set one value in a set or get one value. Remove the set. So this is called the semaphore control. And semaphore operation, only there are two operations, wait and signal. Okay. Now here you can see semaphores are system implemented data structures. So what are the semaphores? Ultimately we can define as the data structures that are shared between processes. Okay. So we can here store the data because it acts as a data structure. Here, so features, what are the different features of the semaphores? So semaphores are used to synchronize operations when processes access a common, limited, and possibly non-shareable resource. Okay, during running condition of the programs, that is called the process. So semaphores are used to synchronize operations. If there are a number of processes are running, then how the semaphore will synchronize the operation, then we use several conditions for that. So each time a process wants to obtain the resource. Okay, so each process, there are number of resources, but the process will use one resource at a time. The associated semaphore is tested. Okay, a positive non-zero semaphore value indicates the resource is available. So if the integer value is positive, okay, non-zero means positive value, it means semaphore value indicates the resource is available. Okay, so because it acts as a integer variable, then with the help of that value, we can analyze, okay, whether resources are available or not. So semaphore system calls will by default cause the invoking process to block. So we can also block the process. Okay, so semaphore are resolving the problem in the critical section. Okay, just remember this. It is a it is an integer value, and that solves the very complicated problems inside the critical section. Okay, so it may also block the process if the semaphore value indicate the resource is not available. So resource is not available, it means block a particular process. Okay, if it has positive value, means resource is available. So just you have to remember this. Under block condition means resource is not available. Now the uses of the semaphores. So critical section guard. Okay, it acts as a critical section guard because it protects the critical section, solves various problems inside the critical section. Okay, so initial value is equal to 1. If initial value it is equal to 1, then semaphore that control access to a single resource taking the value 0, resource is in use. Okay, or 1, resource is available. If the particular resource is in use, means the value is 0. Okay, already occupied. If the resource is already occupied by the process, then its value is 0. Okay, if the resource is available, okay, so that your process may allocate that particular resource, then its value equal to 1, are often called binary semaphores because here we are using two values 0 and 1, then it is called the binary semaphores. Okay, so this acts as a critical section guard, provide the protection in the critical section. So this is the use of the semaphore. Precedence enforcer. Okay, sometimes there are number of processes are running and we want to provide the priority to a particular process. Okay, then who will enforce? How the operating system will enforce the precedence, or we can say provide the priority or give the priority to a particular process, then it is the major use of the semaphore. It provides the precedence enforcer, or we can say it provides the priority to the particular process. So that time the initial value equal to 0. Okay, some at any instant if the process getting priority by the operating system, then that time semaphore value is equal to 0. So semaphore ensuring an ordering of execution among concurrent processes. Concurrent processes means there are several processes which are running at one time. Okay, that are called the concurrent processes. So semaphores ensuring an ordering of execution among concurrent processes. So what is the order? How the processes are going to execute inside the critical section, then how will the process get the priority, then the main enforcer is the semaphore. Okay, so semaphore will solve a number of critical problems inside the critical section. Okay, it also acts as a resource counter. So then initial value that time just we set the multiple values. Okay, then initialize by n. N means multiple value semaphores controlling access to m, that is the multiple resources, thus assuming a range of non-negative value are frequently called counting semaphores. Okay, so it acts as critical section guard, precedence enforcer, resource counter. So during the resource counting, the initialization will be done by n. During the precedence enforcer, the initialization will be done by 0. During the critical section guard, the initialization will be done by 1. Okay, so these are the different values of the semaphores. Now, what are the different advantages of semaphores? Semaphores allow only one process into the critical section. If there are several uh, processes, okay, inside the critical section, but only one process can execute at one time, then the semaphores allow only one process into the critical section. So this is one of the advantage of the semaphores. Okay, there is no resource wastage because whenever we will use the semaphores, then it will resolve the problem and can allocate only one resource at a time. Okay, so there is no resource wastage because of busy waiting in semaphores as processor time is not wasted unnecessarily. Okay, semaphores are implemented in the machine independent code of the microkernel. Okay, so semaphore where we will implement the semaphores in the machine. Okay, during writing of the operating system, because these signals will be handled by the operating system. So the independent code, this is called the independent code of the microkernel. So these are called the various advantages of the semaphores. And now the disadvantages of the semaphores. Semaphores are complicated. Okay, so this is one of the disadvantage. Semaphores are impractical. Semaphores may lead to a priority inversion. So sometimes the failure may occur, okay, due to the complications or priority inversion. Then these will act as disadvantages of the semaphore because everything have some pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages. So if we have more number of advantages, then we must bear some sort of disadvantages of that particular, we can say, the semaphores. Now another thing is called the mutual exclusion. What is the mutual exclusion? It implies that only one process can be inside the critical section at any time. Okay, if any other processes require the critical section, they must wait until it is free. Okay, if there are several number of resources we are using, and also there are number of processes are running, then the operating system will check which, we can say, the resource is now not in use, we can say, okay, then the process will be allocated by that particular resource. Okay, then mutual exclusion, what is the function of that? It implies that only one process can be inside the critical section at any time, at any instant. Okay, so if any other processes require the critical section, so they must wait. Okay, so another process must wait there until it is free. Okay, if the, we can say, resource is free, then the another process must wait. So what is the process scheduling here? The process scheduling is the activity of the process manager that handles the removal of the running process from the CPU and the selection of another process on the basis of a particular strategy. So during the running of the process, we will use the process scheduling. Okay. So what is the process scheduling? Activity of the process manager that handles the removal of the running process. So sometimes we want to provide the priority to a particular process. Okay. If even it is inside the CPU, central processing unit, and the selection of another process. So at instantly we select another process, and then on the basis of particular strategy, then the operating system will provide the priority to another process. Okay, so this comes under the process scheduling. So process scheduling is an essential part of a multi-programming operating system. So it is an essential part of a multi-programming operating system. Such operating system allow more than one process to be loaded into executable memory at a time, and loaded process shares the CPU using time multiplexing. So with the help of this scheduling process here, and we will use as an essential part of a multi-programming operating system. So how the process, another process will get the priority over other process, then it must be, you can say, controlled by the operating system. How the operating system will provide the priority to a another process which is also under execution at the same time. Now this is the introductory part. An important aspect of the multi-programming is scheduling. So for the multi-programming aspect, in the context of the multi-programming, we will use the scheduling. The resources that are scheduled are IO and processors. Okay. So what type of resources we will use here, or will scheduled to the IO, that is input output devices, and the processors. Okay. So what is the goal we want to achieve? High processor utilization. Okay. We always want processor utilization, means high processor utilization and high throughput. It means we will maintain all the resources that must be busy at all time. Okay. If we want to achieve the high processor utilization or high throughput, means here number of processes completed per unit time. Throughput, what is this? Number of processes completed per unit time. And another goal we want to achieve is the low response time. So time lapse from the submission of a request to the beginning of the response. So low response time, what is this? Time lapse from the submission of a request to the beginning of the response. So initialization of the process and the completion of the process, then we will calculate that time, that is called the response time, and it must be low. So our goal is high processor utilization, high throughput, and low response time. What is the scheduling criteria? So here we will find out a number of points on which the scheduling take place. So first is the CPU utilization. Keep the CPU as busy as possible. Okay. Maximum utilization of the central processing unit. So this is provided by the scheduling, or it is called the scheduling criteria. So maximum use of the CPU. So keep the CPU as busy as possible. Throughput of processes that complete their execution per time unit. Okay. Another term is the turnaround time. What is this? Amount of time to execute a particular process. Okay. So this is the time, particular time to execute a process. So we will calculate that time. That is called the turnaround time. Okay. Waiting time, amount of time a process has been waiting in the ready queue. Okay, the queue is already ready. We have the list. There are number of process and we have their numbers there, serial wise. Okay, waiting in a ready queue and also in the blocked queue. So there are two types of queue. First is called the ready queue and another is the blocked queue. So amount of time a process has been waiting either in the ready queue or in the blocked queue, then that is called the waiting time. Similarly, another term is the response time. Then how we will define that amount of time it takes from when a request was submitted until the first response is produced. Okay, not output. So here we are not waiting for output, but this is the time it takes from when a request was submitted, okay, until the first response is produced. So this is called the response time. Now optimization criteria, how we are going to optimize the various here tools. Then this comes under the optimization criteria. Here we will concentrate over the CPU utilization, but it must be maximum. Okay, maximum CPU utilization, maximum throughput, minimum turnaround time, minimum waiting time, minimum response time. Okay, now you can remember these terminology for the optimization criteria. First is maximum CPU utilization. Okay, so CPU will be used by the number of processes. It will remain busy. Okay, it must remain busy so that we can get the maximum CPU utilization. Another is the maximum throughput, minimum turnaround time, minimum waiting time, and minimum response time. So this is called the optimization criteria. Now, what are the different types of scheduling? So then first is called the long term. Here to add to the pool of processes to be executed. Okay. So there are number of processes which may be in the ready list or the blocked list. Okay. So to add to the pool of processes means maximum number of processes. Okay. To be executed. That is called the long term scheduling. Medium term to add to the number of processes that are in the main memory. Okay. Now only those processes just we are going to add that are in the main memory. Okay. Then this is called the medium term scheduling. Short-term scheduling, which of the available processes will be executed by a processor. Okay, the process is available and will be executed by a processor. Then this is called the short-term scheduling. Another IO scheduling to decide which process pending IO request shall be handled by an available IO device. Okay, if the process have completed in the CPU as well as it is no more in the memory, then it will go to the IO device. Okay, so the request will go to the IO device, then it shall be handled by an available IO device. So which IO device is available? Suppose you want to print your program, okay? Then after execution, it will go to the IO device. Then this is called the IO scheduling. Okay, so to decide which process pending IO request shall be handled by an available IO device. So this is the difference between the long term scheduling, medium term, short term IO scheduling. Okay, so in case of the medium term, there are number of processes that are in the main memory. Okay, and long term number of processes to be executed. That is the long term scheduling. Short term, if it is handled by the processor, okay, the process is available and it will be executed by a processor, then this is called the short term scheduling. Now you can see here in the diagram classification of scheduling activity. Long term, process to admit here. Medium term, process to save in or out. Short term, ready process to execute next. Okay, that inside the processor, that is the short term. Now in the diagram you can see, check here. So this is, now you can, a new process here. Now long term scheduling, ready or suspend, and this have the, in this diagram you can see blocked suspend. Okay, medium term scheduling means this ready to ready or suspend, it will go to the ready. Blocked suspend, medium term scheduling, it will go to the blocked, and then it will return to the running state here. Okay, so ready to running, it means your process will come inside the processor, means short term scheduling. Okay, if the process is going inside the CPU, it means short term scheduling, and after execution, then it will go to the IO device. Okay, means exit state. Now here the new process. So as per instruction, it will go either to the ready or suspend or blocked suspend. Now, if it is under the medium term scheduling, then it will go to the ready state, or from the blocked suspend, it will go to the blocked, and from the blocked state, it will go to the running. Okay, and ultimately it will complete. Then after the processor, it may go to the IO device. Okay, that is called the IO scheduling. Now this is, here we can say the summary. Scheduling is important for improving the system performance. Okay, why we are using the scheduling? So scheduling is important for improving the system performance. We want to enhance the system performance. Okay, CPU maximum CPU utilization. Okay, so there are few advantages of that. So that's why we use the scheduling. Methods of prediction play an important role in operating system and network functions. Simulation is a way of experimentally evaluating the performance of a technique. Now the process generation. What is the process generation? Then job queue. This queue keeps all the processes in the system. Ready queue. This queue keeps a set of all processes residing in main memory, ready and waiting to execute. A new process is always put in this queue. Okay, a new process where it will go or reside in the ready queue. Device queues, the processes which are blocked due to unavailability of an IO device. Sometimes the IO device is not free, then we can say the processes which are blocked. So it will go to the blocked state because the IO device are unavailable, and as they become available, then from blocked state we will go to the ready state again. Okay, so here each and every process will wait either in the ready queue or the device queues. Okay, and also there are number of processes which will wait or you can keep in the job queue. Okay, so one by one the process will go inside the processor. Now OS maintains all PCBs in process scheduling queues. So here you can see operating system maintaining all process control blocks here in process scheduling queues. Now you can see this is the job queue here. Okay, then this is the ready queue. Ready queue, it will go to the CPU for processing. Okay, here the operating system will choose the first on the first come first serve based. Here you have the queue, a number of process here are we can say waiting, and it will go one by one to the CPU. After completion, it will come outside or as per command, as per instruction from the CPU, it may go to the IO waiting queue. Suppose you have already given the printout, then it will go to the IO waiting queue. After that, again here this is the waiting queue, then it will go to the IO device again and again to the ready queue. Okay, so under the waiting condition, because this is the IO device, then we can get the printout or something else, whatever it be, or otherwise, again, you can take inside the ready queue if you want to process again, and same thing will happen here again. So the OS maintain all PCBs, okay, in process scheduling queues. So there are number of here scheduling queues for the job queue, ready queue, IO waiting queue. Here you can see, okay, job queue, ready queue, IO waiting queue. So for everything there is a queue, okay, and the process will wait there. So first I am going to take your attendance. There only 1 minute left. So I will continue. If any question, please.
सर वो फर्स्ट और सेकंड यूनिट दोनों के नोट्स हैं ना सर उसमें, या सेकंड के भी और कुछ बचे हैं सर उसमें जो आपने अपलोड किया सर क्लासरूम पे?
कौन सा सॉफ्टवेयर या ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम? दोनों के?
दोनों का।
दोनों के अगर कुछ रह गए होंगे उसमें देख लेना, कंटेंट कुछ ना हो तो बता देना, तो फिर और कर देंगे मटेरियल। अगर कुछ कम रह जाएगा फिर हमारे पास जो अपने पर्सनल नोट्स हैं, तो जिस तरह से पिछली बार हमने करा था पीडीएफ बना के आपको डाल दी थी, तो वो हम फिर उसके अपने हैंड रिटन
जी
नोट्स
सर।
हैं, तो हम हैंड रिटन नोट्स काफ़ी सही हैं, तो वो हम और डाल देंगे पीडीएफ अगर आपको कुछ कम लगेगा। ठीक है, बता देना आपको।
सर
यस
सर आपकी इजाजत हो तो ये पीटीपी आप अपलोड कर दीजिए सर।
जी, पार्डन?
सर आपकी इजाजत हो तो सर मतलब पीपीटी सर अपलोड कर दीजिए।
अच्छा अच्छा, पीपीटी चाहिए आपको?